It is super common for businesses to want their users to be notified when records are assigned to them. This could be as a sales team member when someone assigns a new lead to me. Or if I have a contact in my list and I'm assigning it to another person because that contact moved to another state. The ability to automatically send notifications on record reassignments can be applied in a ton of different use cases. And in this video, I'm going to show you how you can create this automatic email notification in the Power Platform utilizing Power Automate. So here I have created a blank lead, and let's say in our scenario, we want to automatically notify new owners of leads when leads get assigned to them. So for example, we want to create a Power Automate flow that will notify the new owner when the owner of a lead record changes. We can do this utilizing a fairly simple Power Automate flow that I want to walk you through now so that you can build this in your system. This flow is fairly simple and I want to walk you through the different actions. The first action here is what's called our trigger, and like I've said a couple times, this can apply to virtually any table within Microsoft Dynamics and specifically in Dataverse. So you can see here that we are looking at the leads table. Now, you need to hit the advanced options because there's an important condition that you need to add to the trigger of your flow. And that is going to be that you want to add the owner ID field to the select columns. All this means is whenever the owner ID field is updated, we want this flow to be triggered. The reason that it's important to specify the owner ID is because you don't want this notification to be sent out if someone just updates the lead's name or updates the lead's phone number or the lead's address. You only want it to trigger when the owner field changes. You can also see that as a part of the change type, we have this modified here. This is again saying we only want to do this on the changes of fields in a record as opposed to the creation of records. But if you can set up your trigger in this way, it's going to help you eliminate unnecessary flow runs and make sure that this flow is only triggering when you want it to. Now, there are really two extra conditions that I would recommend you add to this flow. And the first one is the owner input type. Now, if you aren't familiar, the owner field in Dataverse is what's called a polymorphic lookup. And so this means that it actually looks up at two different tables. It looks at the owner field, it looks at the user table or the system users table, and it also looks at the teams table. So what this means is a system user or a team could be an owner of a record. It's important to understand this and bulletproof your flow in this way to protect against your flow failing. Now, why would your flow fail? Let's say that the new owner of my lead record is a team. Teams records don't specifically have an email associated to them. Teams are then associated to users, and those users then have emails. So if the owner of a record is a team, it's going to have to follow a different process than if the owner of a record is a user. So in my example, if the owner is equal to system users, if that is true, we want to continue, and if not, we want it to terminate. Now, I could go through the additional process of okay, now go find this team's owner and then send an email to the owner of the team of the owner of the lead, if that makes sense. But for this example, we are not doing that. Now, there is one small change that we need to make to this. If I hover over the owner ID value, so kind of in the background, there is a field that stores if the polymorphic lookup is looking up at a user record or is looking at a team's record. And this will store a value of either system users or teams. If I hover over this, you can actually see the O data or this extra stuff that it adds to the schema name of this field, this at Microsoft Dynamics CRM lookup logical name. We actually want to remove that and get rid of it while in our condition. So how I would recommend you do that is you can actually copy and paste that directly into your notepad, and you're going to want to make sure that you get rid of this at symbol or any squiggly brackets that it adds, as well as everything after this at sign. I'm gonna go ahead and zoom in here, and you can see how this reads underscore value right here. We actually need to change this to type. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that. Now that we have this, I can actually hit OK. It will be a different color because Microsoft Power Automate is recognizing this as an expression and not as something like this, but that is okay. The second condition here is that I think is particularly valuable is checking to see who the actual new owner is and who or what changed the owner of that record. So for example, say I am looking in the system, it's common for people to have the ability to edit or assign records. Granted, if I have the appropriate permissions, I can go onto someone else's record and assign that record back to me. I would assume in that scenario, I wouldn't want to receive an email notification because I'm the one that did the assignment, right? That is ultimately what we're trying to protect against here. So you can see here that we have the owner ID, the value, or also known as the GUID of this owner record, and we want to make sure that it is not equal to the modified by value. This just means every time a record is updated, the person that did those updates or the thing that did those updates is going to be added to the modified by. And we just want to make sure, okay, is the new owner the person that just made this update? If that is the case, then let's terminate. But if it's not equal to the modified by, then we will continue. So I would highly recommend you add these condition statements to your flow in order to make sure that you're not sending out unnecessary email notifications, etc. The next thing I'm going to recommend, if I go ahead and minimize these, is you're going to need a get a row by ID action. What this action does is this action takes a record ID, or also known as a GUID, a GUID, and it can go and look in the system for more information on that record, provided you give it the ID it needs. So why in this scenario do we need it? So at this point, considering we only have our trigger action, we only have information on, in our example, the lead table. We don't have information on the user record or the owner of this lead. And what information do we need? Well, if we want to send this person an email, we need that email information. We need the email address. So that's ultimately what we're targeting here with this get a row by ID. Now, in order to maximize the efficiency of your flow, I would recommend you click the show advanced options here, and you can actually add the specific fields that you want it to go and retrieve. Now, the reason this is important is if you do not specify any fields or any columns in this select columns, then it's going to go and pull in every single data point, which largely you only need a couple most of the time. And so I would almost always recommend adding these select columns, the columns that you actually need for the remainder of your flow. In our scenario, let's say we want the full name because we're going to want to say, hey, full name, comma, in our email, as well as the primary email address, or the schema of that field is the internal email address. So now with these two fields, and we have all the information we need, we're now able to send an email. I'd recommend utilizing the send an email v2 Outlook action. And you can see here that in our to field, we have the primary email from the outputs of the get a row by ID, that internal email address. You see that schema once again. Then we have our subject, a new record has been assigned to you, and the following record has been assigned to you with a semicolon and maybe some information on that lead. So, we have the record's name or the lead's name, as well as, say, the lead's description. If I wanted to, I could include a line here saying, hey, full name. And again, if I look at the dynamic content, it's pulling in just the full name and the primary email. It's not showing every field available on the user. Let's say at this point you can really go crazy with all of the customizations that you want your email to look like, and that is not what we are covering in this video. If you are wanting to particularly customize it, I would recommend hitting this code view, and then this is going to allow you to utilize HTML to design the look and feel of your email in super detailed ways. But nonetheless, let's say that we have our email written, and here we have all the information that we need in order to send this email on a lead assignment. Let me go ahead and hit save. Now our flow is ready to test. I'm gonna go ahead and do a manual test here. So if I select manual and hit test, you'll see that it'll say to see it now, perform the starting action. And here I have a lead record that I want to assign out to another user in the system saying, hey, this is no longer something I am going to work or be responsible for. Let me pass it off to another person. So I can actually go ahead and select the assign button up here in the ribbon, change this to a user, and this here you can see is if I hit all records, you can see that this is referring to the polymorphic lookup that I was talking about and the fact that it looks at users and teams records, but nonetheless we are looking for users, and I'm gonna go ahead and search for another user here in the system. If I go ahead and hit this assign button, this is going to trigger off our flow that I have testing right now. If I give it just a couple of seconds here, we can switch over to our flow and see it now working. Here is our flow run, and you can see, thankfully, we have all green check boxes. It triggered our flow, it met the conditions, it went and found the first name in the email of the new owning user and sent that person an email. You can see this information here, and this is showing the kind of HTML code that the email body contains. I will also show you as well, if I hop to a different browser that is signed in as this other user and look at their email, you can see that this here is my email, in that it is now saying, hey, using my first name, here is the following information, and it has been assigned to you. And some information on the lead itself. Now, just to test our condition, if I hop back to Power Automate and I were to reassign this lead back to myself, again, so me being the modifying user and assigning it back to me becoming the owner, we have a condition that will prohibit this from sending the email. Let me just show you that condition working really quickly. So here I am in Dynamics. If I go ahead and assign this lead back to me, I will hit assign. And this is again going to kick off the Power Automate flow. And if I hop into Power Automate to pull up this flow, you can see that it did not pass this filtering condition, and that is just because of everything that I've stated here. The second bullet point that we added in our condition to protect against this. I think this is a very reasonable thing to want, as I'm the one doing the assignment. I don't want to receive a notification about it, you know. At this point in time, you can apply this flow to any record in the system that is user owned or team owned. Again, if you want this to apply to both users and teams, you can just continue to build out that other branch for if the type equals teams and send an email notification appropriately to the team as your business sees fit. Thank you to you for sticking to end the video. My name is Griffin Lickfeld, the host of Citizen Developer, and I'm excited to connect with you guys in the next one.